stargazing scientists at NASA are confident that within the next few decades, humans will discover the very first signs of extraterrestrial life. Yet some believe it's entirely possible alien craft have already visited Earth.
Large black flying object. Hey, calm down, calm down.
But extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. In this series, I'm going to investigate some of the most remarkable and recent UFO sightings from around the world. They saw something really strange in the sky that day. And I'll be joined by renowned astrophysicist and space journalist, Sarah Crudders.
The thing is, with something so extraordinary like this, we've got to look at all the more logical explanations. I still think this can be explained by science.
As together, we'll separate fact from fiction once and for all. That is an unidentified flying object.
I knew you were going to say that, and yes, it is. It's one of the greatest UFO mysteries of all time.
From our specially created UFO investigation hub, we'll speak to experts.
We have no conventional explanation for what we are seeing here.
Whistleblowers.
Anytime you step out of ranks in an organization like mine, there's obviously going to be some repercussions.
And first-hand witnesses.
There was this massive boomerang. It's at least a mile to a mile and a half wide. It was huge.
Wow, that's just spooked me now. And finally answer the big question. Are we alone in the universe? Whatever they are, they're not of this world. The question of whether UFOs exist has been the source of fascination for over 50 years. And in this time, a pattern has emerged. The strong link between some of our biggest military installations and sightings of UFOs.
There's a track record of encounters between UFOs and the military, whether it's aircraft in the skies or military bases on the ground. But these interactions have been going on for decades.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Recent reports indicate that UFOs enter US military designated airspace at least once a month. And the fact these incursions are being witnessed by highly trained military personnel adds significant credibility. In 2019, unidentified objects hovered motionless above the ocean, while US Navy fighter jets raced past them, capturing these images. The Pentagon later admitted they were authentic and the subject of ongoing investigations.
It could potentially involve safety and/or national security concerns, absolutely.
In 1994, a UFO was captured on camera by a radar tracking system at Nellis Air Force Base in the Nevada desert. The astonishing video evidence was subsequently leaked to the press. But one of the most famous UFO cases of all time took place much closer to home in 1980. A remote pine forest in Suffolk was the scene of the most significant UFO sighting on British soil. Boxing Day, 1980, 3 a.m. US military personnel were on patrol at an RAF airbase when they noticed strange lights descending into Rendlesham forest. Servicemen left their base, and as they approached the scene, they saw a strange object ahead. 3 meters tall and 3 meters wide, smooth and glowing. As they closed in, what appeared to be a craft darted away through the trees. As dawn broke, the military and police discovered broken branches and 3 small radioactive triangular impressions on the ground. The news of this eerie event reached the bemused deputy commander of the base, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, and other personnel. But even their military training couldn't prepare them for what happened next. A close encounter with something unlike anything they'd ever seen before. Sarah, something obviously unusual went on.
This is the holy grail of UK UFO sightings. More than 4 decades on, it's still not been solved.
But why hasn't it been solved? I mean, the military were at the heart of this encounter.
Well, as far as I know, it never came back.
Oh, no, but it did. It
did.
This gets weirder and weirder. A couple of days later, they went into the woods again, looking for evidence, scorch marks and broken trees, took an audio recorder with them to catalogue what they found. But Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt saw it again. And this is an audio recording of that encounter.
Okay, stop. Hey, this is Erie. This is strange. You just saw a light where? Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again. There it is. Hey, I see it too. What is it? There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. Weird. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird. To the left. Yeah, definitely moving. Two guards. Keep the flashlights off. Here's something very, very strange. Strange. Here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal.
Well, that is chilling.
It is. It feels like you're listening to a horror movie. These are military personnel. They are trained to be in difficult situations. Yeah, I'm genuinely a bit freaked out.
And let's face it, these guys work at an Air Force base. They know what aircraft look like. And they're saying that was weird. Not weird, but weird. Not strange, but strange. I mean, they're really emphasizing the unusualness of this. There's definitely something out there that is not of this world.
We know something strange went on, but there's not enough proof, and that's the problem with this. It's not solved, but it is very compelling.
Okay, so 40 years on, how do we add to this? How do we find evidence and proof?
We need to speak to experts, and we also need to try and find someone from the military, someone who was there that night and witnessed it firsthand. That's going to be key to solving this.
Okay, who do we talk to first?
Well, we need to speak to Nick Pope, former MOD investigator, UFO expert, and what he doesn't know about this case isn't worth knowing.
We're really excited about this. We've just heard the audio recording of the Rendlesham incident. You're our man in the know. Tell us all you know about the incident and its aftermath.
Well, this was December 1980. 2 US military bases on British soil, and Rendlesham Forest lies between them. And these encounters happened over 3 separate nights. One of the witnesses on the first night said that when this thing landed and then subsequently took off again, it accelerated away at a phenomenal rate. And of course, all these people were used to seeing fast jets. And he just wrote down in his police notebook, speed impossible. Now, on the last night of activity, the witnesses included Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt. He went out into the forest, skeptical about all this, saw the UFO himself, and as you've heard, encountered it.
There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. It's yellow. I saw a yellow tinge in it too. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. There is no doubt about it. This is weird.
It's just such a great case in terms of multiple witnesses, military witnesses, declassified government file. I mean, everything you could want.
Well, it sounds like it's a slam dunk case, doesn't it? I mean, it seems obvious to me that would say aliens existed.
In terms of evidence, it doesn't get much better than this. Now, I can't quite push you over the line with this, because even those of us at the Ministry of Defence who looked at this and are counterparts in the United States, we didn't find any definitive proof that this was extraterrestrial. But it's kind of like flipping it the other way around and saying we ruled out all the conventional explanations, so we're left with a genuine mystery.
The lights that they're seeing in the woods, what could they possibly be?
That's a real mystery because the colors and the configuration, the flashing or whatever, it doesn't correlate to, for example, aircraft lights.
You wrote a book on this subject, and it had to actually be cleared by the MOD before it was published.
Yes, actually the book needed Department of Defense security clearance in the US too. I mean, I take my security oath seriously. I don't want to inadvertently disclose classified information.
How much information haven't they declassified? How much couldn't you tell us?
There are still things that can't be revealed. So, for example, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Air Force in Europe flew specially to the bases, was briefed on this incident, took possession of various items of evidence and took them back to his headquarters in Ramstein, Germany. And the MOD file shows how angry we were about this, that items of evidence pertaining to the investigation were removed and not shared with the UK. We don't know what they did with it. We don't know what they concluded, and we don't know where it is now.
Was this physical evidence, could this been anything like part of a craft?
We don't know for sure. We know that it does include soil samples taken from the landing site. Some of the radar operators have gone on the record. They tracked what they call an uncorrelated target. But the raw data itself, the original radar tapes, gone.
Wow.
Just to play devil's advocate slightly, I know I can be a bit of a killjoy with this, but is it not possible it's just a downed Russian satellite or some sort of foreign technology?
We can't completely rule that out.
Have you ever heard of a downed Russian satellite flying upwards at an impossible speed?
No, I haven't.
Do you know more about this than you're able to tell us?
It's a difficult question, actually, to answer. I know a little bit more, but I don't want to tease you. I don't want to imply I know the answer to this, because I don't. I genuinely don't. There are some things that have not yet been released. For example, the issue of the radiation at the landing site is extremely sensitive. Some of the witnesses who got close to this thing said that they think health issues that they've had have been attributable to that, and there has been a settlement with the Veterans Administration in the US over this. Senators got involved, the US government got involved. Some of the witnesses were asked for their blood samples, DNA samples, looking at whether there were physiological changes. That's about all I can say on that.
But if the government are doing things like that, checking if someone's DNA has been altered, something must have happened. Something must have been there.
Yes, I think so, undeniably.
Well, what do you make of that?
Americans nicked our soil, stole all the physical evidence and flew it off to Germany.
It is interesting, though, that someone was investigating this and taking physical evidence. It shows that the MOD, the CIA, whoever else, was taking this seriously.
And then later on, they blood testing people who came into contact with the site. So with all this going on, why isn't this down as case proved?
What I find interesting is journalists were covering this story. People tried to solve this at the time, but as yet it remains unsolved.
Where do we go next?
We've got a lot of potentially credible evidence, but actually I want to rule a lot of stuff out, because if we can rule a lot of stuff out, we're left with the more extraordinary explanation. So I want to speak to a journalist who covered this from the beginning.
Coming up, What I don't understand is why 40 years on, we still haven't got to the bottom of this mystery. A revelation brings everything crashing back down to earth.
Well, when he told me his answer, I nearly fell off my chair.
I'm just going to sit down a minute, because I think you've just burst my balloon a bit.
Speechless.
One of the biggest, and to this day still unexplained sightings of the modern era happened deep in the forests of Rendlesham, Suffolk. In 1980, US Air Force Base personnel got up close and personal with what they were convinced was an alien craft.
There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flash back there. There it is. Hey, I see it too. What is it? We don't know, sir.
This case is a standout example of a seemingly undeniable connection between UFOs and the United States military.
Look at that thing! It's rotating.
Our investigation so far has proven a remarkable encounter really did occur in Rendlesham Forest.
It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. Yes, it's farther than it has been. Yellow, it's coming this way.
But the question remains, was it of extraterrestrial origin or man-made? Okay, Sarah, let's have a look at what we've got. American Air Force Base noticed some strange lights going into Rendlesham Woods, okay?
Yep.
They send a Lieutenant Colonel, Charles Holt, to investigate. And we've got the audio recording of that. I've got the transcript here. He says there's no doubt there's some type of strange red flashing light. Weird. It's coming this way. It's definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There's no doubt about it. This is weird. To the left, definitely moving. 2 lights, 1 light just behind, and 1 light to the left. Keep your flashlights off. There's something very, very strange. This reads like a horror film.
It's chilling.
And then Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt wrote a memo to the Ministry of Defence. It's known as the Holt Memo. This is famous.
So the MOD are taking this seriously.
So seriously, in fact, that former Chief of the UK Defence Staff, Lord Peter Hill Norton, wrote to the MOD to ask them to clarify what steps were being taken to investigate the Rendlesham incident. What I don't understand is why 40 years on, we still haven't got to the bottom of this mystery.
It's one of the greatest mysteries of all UFO sightings of all time, and I think we need to rule things out, do a process of elimination.
So how do we go about this?
Well, we need to speak to a journalist. The media picked up on this story. The MOD actually released a press release, and it was front page news at the time. And this guy, Ian Ridpath, he is a science journalist, and he was one of the first people to report on this.
Listen, Rendlesham's been part of your life for what, say 40 years? Am I right to be getting excited about this?
At the time, you would have been, yes, because as you said, it was front page news, one of the great headlines, isn't it? UFO lands in Suffolk, and that's official. And when I saw that, I thought, well, I really have to look into this and find out what actually happened. And the report spoke of a bright flashing light seen between the trees at the eastern edge of Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk. It was seen on at least 2 separate nights.
Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. There's no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. Weird.
So to try and find out what it might have been, I rang the local forestry office and I spoke to a young forester and I asked him what he thought it might have been that they'd seen. And, well, when he told me his answer, I nearly fell off my chair. He said, I think it's the lighthouse. Now, in all the reports in the newspapers, no one had said anything about a lighthouse. I didn't know anything about a lighthouse, so I thought, well, I really have to go there and see it for myself. I think that's the answer to what they saw.
Wow.
There are other parts of the case as well, which I continue to investigate. Why had they gone out into the forest in the first place? They said They thought they'd seen something crashing. I know from experience that bright fireballs can give that impression. That is a natural piece of space junk burning up in the atmosphere. It's 100 miles up. It looks as though it's much, much closer. That was almost certainly what they saw, triggered the whole thing. They thought something had crashed in the forest. They went out to look for it. They saw this flashing light between the trees, which they hadn't expected because they'd never been out there before. And they put two and two together and made rather too much of it.
Ian, I'm just going to sit down a minute because I think you've just burst my balloon a bit.
2 nights later, they called out their superior officer, Colonel Holt, who went out there with a tape recorder and a small party of men. One of the men pointed out to Holt this flashing light in the distance, and as they went towards it, they were moving between the trees. The light appears to move between the trees. Well, that's the direction of the Orford Ness Lighthouse. On Colonel Holt's tape, you can hear the men calling out the flashes. There it is again, 5-second gap. That's the flash rate of the Orford Ness Lighthouse. Later in the night, he saw other lights, bright starlight lights, he called them. They twinkled colours, and they hovered for several hours. Well, again, from my experience of investigating UFOs, I know that star-like objects which hover and twinkle are almost certainly stars. And he specifically picked out one to the southwest, which was where the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, was setting.
So you're trying to tell me that that this whole incident is basically a lighthouse and the dog star, and that's all it is?
It's a combination of 3 things, and the interesting thing about the case is that you have these 3 quite separate stimuli. The bright fireball that brought them out there on the first night, then the lighthouse and the bright stars. You put them all together and you have this wonderful case. And it's like so many UFO cases, it's a misidentification of normal stimuli, things that we can quite easily identify.
Oh, that stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Ian, does Colonel Holt agree with your interpretation of events?
Oh, no, he doesn't. It would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? I think he's an honest man, but he's made an honest mistake. He's a UFO celebrity. He doesn't want to give that up.
I'm speechless.
Well, that's really burst my bubble, that has. I mean, when I started the show, I said this was going to be a slam dunk.
I know.
I thought that we were going to eventually prove that aliens exist, but having spoken to Ian, I'm seriously conflicted now. And this is the photograph off of his website, which shows Lieutenant Colonel Holt's point of view. And you can see the lighthouse in the distance. Ian said he didn't know the lighthouse existed, and that's why he was confused about the flashing lights.
I mean, Ian's given a very plausible and a very scientific explanation to what happened, but we've got these MOD reports, we've got credible witnesses. These are highly trained military personnel. It doesn't make sense to me why they'd be so confused. Something doesn't add up to me.
I think we need to track down Colonel Holt.
I agree. He led the investigation into this. He was there.
Coming up.
The military personnel are saying, hey, what is that? Is it a helicopter? Is it a balloon?
Another notorious UFO incident close to a secret military base, this time in America, which may well have a bearing on the mysterious events at Rendlesham in December 1980. It's moving like an insect, like a bee or something, but you couldn't pilot something like that.
Within government and military circles, there are people who are too afraid to come forward.
They're too afraid, yes.
During the last 75 years, there's been a multitude of reports by the military of anomalous flying objects. It's only been in recent years, however, since the Pentagon confirmed in September 2019 that this very footage captured by the US Navy between 2004 and 2015 is authentic, that many are finally coming to light.
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that, man. Look at the sky.
But why is it that UFOs appear to be persistently attracted to our military? And do they pose a threat to our national security? As we endeavour to find out, there's a particular case that has caught our attention. The Rendlesham UFO incident is as remarkable as it is mystifying. US military personnel reporting how they came face to face with an alien craft 40 years ago on UK soil make this sighting extraordinary.
Here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal.
Okay, so let's look at what we've got. A military base sees some bright lights smashing into Rendlesham woods. They go and investigate, and they see something that they think is out of this world, is very, very strange.
What is it? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. Weird.
And then a journalist investigates, and he says it's a series of unconnected incidents. He says it's a fireball, it's a lighthouse, and it's Sirius, the dog star in the sky. Do you know, one thing that puzzles me is how come so many UFO sightings are by military bases?
It's a great question. It all started with Area 51, and we've had numerous sightings by military bases over the years. And I caught up with Nick Pope, our man on the inside, about why this happens.
What's the relationship between military bases and UFOs? Because there seems to be a plethora of UFO sightings near military bases.
UFOs are undeniably seen very close to military bases. Believers say that's because aliens are studying us. Skeptics say, come on, that just proves it's military tech.
So in terms of Nellis Air Force Base, there were some significant sightings there.
Yes, I mean, this really is the Area 51 story. I mean, Area 51 is part of the Nellis Air Force Base and the wider proving grounds around it, where all sorts of secret technologies are developed and test flown. But of course, over the years, believers say it goes further than that. People say the US government has recovered alien technology, and Area 51 is where it's been either stored and or back engineered so we can construct our own. This really became a big deal in the 90s, where this became part of popular culture. And in particular, there was a video that emerged, and it showed what some people said was a UFO in terms of an alien spacecraft. There's a group of Dutch experts who have looked at it. They've done a phenomenal amount of research on this video. They've slowed it down, they've enlarged it.
Can you describe what's in the footage?
It rapidly moves from side to side in a way that implies speeds and G-forces that would be problematic for us. And it shows this undeniably solid, structured craft. And the other thing is that there's some audio with this video. Wow. Because it's some of the military personnel are saying, hey, what is that? Is it a helicopter? Is it a balloon? And then suddenly it's like, no, it's not behaving like that at all.
So who are the witnesses on the video?
Well, not all of them have come forward because they were not authorized to speak on the record. That's problematic in evidential terms for sure, but it's as somebody who's worked in that classified world, it's understandable as well.
Within government and military circles, there are people who are too afraid to come forward about what they've experienced.
They're too afraid, yes. Frightened in terms of if they discuss something or release something and it turns out that it's classified, that's a criminal offense.
The UFO sighting over the Nevada desert in 1994 has been followed by further, more recent sightings, some reported as recently as this year by members of the public. The Nellis footage is really interesting. Can we have a closer look at that? Because it almost looks like it's moving like an insect, like a bee or something. But you couldn't pilot something like that. I mean, the G-forces would be impossible, so it would have to be a drone or something like that.
Look at how it's changing shape almost. But we also know that Nellis Air Force Base, they've got some pretty high-tech stuff there, so it could potentially be just secret military technology. It's certainly something that we can't explain.
That is an unidentified flying object.
I'll give you that one.
And we've got really recent sightings. Is it a disc? Is it an orb? And if that was a balloon, it wouldn't move that quickly.
It depends on the wind speed of the day.
Oh, true, I suppose. Let's head back to Rendlesham. How are we going to find our truth in this investigation? Where do we go next?
Well, there's one person we need to speak to, one person who might hold the key. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt.
We've read his transcript, we've heard his audio recording. He sounded as though he was really freaked out by the whole thing.
Yeah, and this is a man who's trained. He's a military man. He led the investigation into this. He was there. He saw the second sighting.
Coming up.
There are really two stories here. What happened in the forest and what happened afterwards.
We track down Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt and hear his account of what happened at Rendlesham firsthand. It's like an unbelievable story, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at the fly.
We're exploring the deeply intertwined relationship between the military and unidentified flying objects.
Whoa, it's getting close. Whoa, splashed. Mark bearing and range.
The focus of our investigation in this episode has been the infamous Rendlesham incident, which has remained an unsolved mystery since it occurred in Suffolk in December 1980. Okay, Sarah, we're investigating the most famous UFO sighting in British history. An American airbase say they saw a spacecraft crash into Rendlesham Woods. They went to investigate. They saw scorch marks, they saw triangular marks in the earth. They went back a couple of days later. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt saw bright lights, things that were not of this world.
Okay, stop. Right on. Hey, this is eerie. This is strange. Eerie. Someone want to look at the spots in the ground?
He sounded as though he was really freaked out by the whole thing.
Yeah, and this is a man who's trained. He's a military man. It is interesting, though, that the MOD, the CIA, whoever else, was taking this seriously.
The MOD file shows how angry we were that items of evidence pertaining to the investigation were removed and not shared with the UK.
Now, a leading journalist investigated at the same time. He says it's a fireball that they saw. They saw the light from a lighthouse, and the light in the sky was the dog star Sirius.
It's like so many UFO cases, it's a misidentification of normal stimuli.
Where do we go from here?
Well, Craig, I'm really divided on this one like you. To me, we've got a credible scientific explanation, those three unrelated events. That makes me skeptical about this case.
But perhaps the final word should go to the man who was actually on the scene at Rendlesham and explored the site in December 1980. Former Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt. We've tracked him down to Virginia to hear his story firsthand. We are investigating the strange goings-on in Rendlesham Woods. You're the man in the know. You were there. Can you tell us, convince us that it happened and tell us your story?
3 cops thought they saw a downed aircraft off the back gate at Woodbridge Base. And 3 of them went out in the forest and investigated, and they had some kind of an encounter. The 3rd night, the base commander said, why don't you go and take a couple people with you and go out there and put this thing to rest?
Can you just talk us through what happened?
We went across the base and went out into the forest. And lo and behold, there are 3 indentations, about 1.5 inches or 2 inches deep. And we look out into the farmer's field, which is directly across from us. And there's a glowing object about the size of a large beach ball. We watch it for a few minutes and I realize I can't explain this. And the object moves into the forest, obviously avoiding the trees. And I'm thinking this is under intelligent control, whatever it is. So we try and approach it. The object goes back out into the farmer's field, directly between us and the farmhouse. Suddenly, the object silently explodes into 5 white objects like fireworks, and it's gone. So I said, let's go out in the field and see if we can find any evidence. And somebody notices up in the sky, about 3,000 or 4,000 feet, are several elliptical shaped objects with multiple colored lights on. And they're moving together in synchronization as though they're flying in a pattern. And we notice 2 very bright white lights to the south. One of the objects comes directly overhead at very high speed. I mean, it's almost like instantaneously, and stops directly over us. It sends down like a laser beam about 10 or 15 feet from where we're standing here. I'm really getting nervous. Is this a weapon? Is this a warning? Is this some kind of communication? They move over Bentwater's base, and I could see them sending down beams there, in or near the weapons storage area. We could hear the chatter on the security radio net that the people in the weapons storage area were seeing these beams too.
Well, it's like an unbelievable story, isn't it?
I can't come up with a rational explanation. What I was thinking at the time was, why did I ever come out here? Nobody's going to believe this. This is a problem.
Yeah.
So many of these sightings seem to be near military bases. Is there something which is drawing these objects in?
There's some type of attraction or some type of a power source. The military base, obviously, and what we had and what we did probably was of great interest or whatever it is.
We've had one journalist, Ian Ridpath. He dismisses your claims, Charles, by saying that that what you saw was a fireball, a lighthouse, and that the Dog Star Sirius was right in the sky that night. What do you say to that?
We know it wasn't the lighthouse. We could see the lighthouse.
Did you ever see a lighthouse move through the forest?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see a fireball send down a laser-like beam?
Oh, I did not.
He can think whatever he wants, but he wasn't there.
That is true.
It's a fair point.
The air traffic controllers saw the people in the weapons storage area. There were 10 or 15 of them. All saw the objects in the sky. Ian isn't listening.
What was the reaction from your superiors when you submitted the memo?
My superior actually believed me because I gave him the tape the following morning.
My memo was released against my wishes. It wasn't intended to go to the Ministry of Defense or to anybody else. It was not career enhancing. You know, in 1980, UFO was a taboo subject for the military. The reason the air traffic controllers didn't come forward till later after they retired is they learned that other controllers that reported UFOs got decertified. There are really 2 stories here. What happened in the forest and what happened afterwards.
So the authorities have been suppressing this story for like 40 years.
What they did is they planted enough disinformation with several people, and which has clouded the whole issue and made it almost ridiculous.
When the CIA turned up on the base after the first night, why were they there?
That's a very good question.
Did they speak to you?
I don't have the answer to that. I'm sure they were there to investigate, I'm sure.
Did any shadowy forces ever approach you and tell you to keep quiet?
No, I was never debriefed. Right after the incident, a cleanup crew came in and tidied up the area. I do know individuals that were involved the first night that were debriefed with drugs and hypnosis. The spooks, so to speak, CIA and probably British, what they've done is they've given them screen memories. In other words, false memories.
Are you saying that sort of military intelligence have messed with the memories of some of the people involved in this to make them remember differently?
Oh, I know they did. There's no doubt about it.
How do you feel about the embellishments that some people have added to the story?
I never intended to go public. Nobody wanted anything to do with it, but I was left hanging. The only reason I've ever spoken out is there's so many people that claim crazy things. It's totally out of control. The real truth is never going to come out to whoever is behind it decides it's time. The truth needs to be out there.
Powerful.
Wow, the aftermath sounds just as intriguing as the event itself. People getting their memories erased, the CIA on the site, kind of intimidation, dark forces. It's all very odd, isn't it?
It is all very odd. I feel like some of this we haven't got a lot of evidence for in terms of people having their memories erased, potentially drugs being used.
You can tell from the tone of his voice, he doesn't really want to talk about this. He wants to move on with his life. It's like he's getting dragged into it. He's not coming forward saying, look at me, I'm a professional UFOer. We've sought out key expert and witness accounts and analysed an abundance of military documents. But will we, from what we've seen and heard, be able to draw a conclusion? Or will this legendary case remain shrouded in mystery? One of the things I thought was quite convincing was Ian Ridpath's photograph of the lighthouse, which is there. And this was Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt's view through those trees. But Charles Holt said, have you ever seen a lighthouse coming through the trees?
I'm hugely conflicted with this case. When we spoke to Ian Ridpath, I was convinced. Case closed, we've solved it with science. But he wasn't there. Then, when we spoke to Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, his account was very compelling. He was there.
Before we reach our verdict, let's listen to that audio recording again of him in the woods.
There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. It's yellow. I saw a yellow tinge in it too. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. There is no doubt about it. This is weird.
That to me doesn't sound like someone seeing lights from a lighthouse in the trees.
And I keep thinking the military have maps, they know the lay of the land. Even if they hadn't been in that forest before, they know what's around. This is the military.
And these guys have a fear of being stigmatised, and yet they still push forward with their claims. And when you speak to Charles, you wish it hadn't happened. And when you see all the MOD involvement, you see the CIA, the accusations of people messing with memories, dark forces at work, something definitely strange happened in those woods.
I agree. That tape is credible, it's legitimate, and the fact remains, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, he was there. I keep coming back to that thought that he was there, he witnessed this, he's got no reason to lie. His superiors have taken this seriously, yet at the same time, others have now embellished the story and the truth's kind of got muddied somewhere in the water.
Okay, so what's your verdict?
Craig, this kills me somewhat because I want to side with science, but it really doesn't match the account of the person who was there. Something went on in those woods that night and we don't know what it is. So I'm going to say case unsolved, but case ongoing.
It's no wonder the Rendlesham incident has a special place in the UFO Hall of Fame, confounding skeptics and believers alike. Our due diligence has revealed the admission that key evidence was removed by the authorities, proving this case to be far more complex than it appears on the surface. The lesson learned from this encounter and others like it is that someone or something is being repeatedly drawn to our military bases and installations. perhaps curious to observe us, or interested in our technology and weaponry. Either way, we don't yet know if the unexplained objects in our skies are friend or foe.